Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today we're going to talk about the Helanatural team. You may be wondering, what is this team? Why are we talking about it? This is a team that is used in endgame war, and it started because people had Hela built for their Asgardians on the team. It is not really all that useful on war defense anymore. The Asgardian team loses every time to symbiotes, and the supernatural team got power crept. It used to be very strong a year and a half ago when it was introduced. It's gotten weakened, but putting Hela onto this team is awesome. It makes the team way better. It actually is really important in high level war. Now, just a note of caution. This video is meant really for players who either already have these characters built or mostly built, or you are an endgame player. If you're a beginner, do not put resources into this team unless you don't have alternatives. In other words, these new characters, OP characters that came out are going to be better than Supernatural. This team does have some pretty heavy T4 requirements, but this is great if you're in the end game and you're looking for a team that can help you do well in Alliance War. You need another war offense team. And the nice thing about this team is it's extremely free to play friendly. Every character on it is farmable. And also, some of these characters, like Mordo, Ghost Rider, and Hela, can actually be important in the Doom raid in the Mystic section and can help you there. So definitely some fantastic options here if you want to build this team. What we're going to talk about today is what T4s, how to build, and more importantly, how to handle the key fight that this team is known for. And this team is known for punching up big on Wave 1 Avengers. Wave 1 Avengers are one of the best war defense teams. You see huge Wave 1 Avengers. I see them in Diamond level war. You see them, I saw them when I was in Platinum 1 and Platinum 2. You just see them all over the place. And there's no one that I know who is better at piloting this team or getting massive punch-ups against Wave 1 than my friend Night King. You may remember him from some of our prior videos. Here's just some of his punch-ups on Wave 1. Here you got a 200 and something K punch-up against an 818K team, an 837K team, an 800K team, all over 200K punch-ups. I frankly, I don't know if I can ever remember seeing him lose this match. Just somebody who knows how to pilot this. And what is important, the reason I have him on, is because this match requires you to understand the kits of the characters on your team and the opponent and plan for some RNG. And so you have to understand the fight well. That's what we're going to cover today. All right, Night King, thanks for joining me. Why did you build this team?
So, as you've kind of pointed out, Supernatural's been here for a while. A lot of us have have a base level of investment in these guys. We already had them geared up a little bit. We already had some T4s in them, and I just wanted to find a better way to utilize my Hela on offense since she was not doing as well on defense. So, and also, as you pointed out, everyone has big Wave 1 Avengers and Platinum and up wars. And so I want to be able to make a team that could punch up big on these Wave 1 Avengers.
So how does Hela help this supernatural team, and who are you replacing?
So I drop Elsa to put in Hela. And so what Hela is good at is her summon, the Greg, when she summons Greg. And as he dies, that of course reduces some turn meter on Wave 1, but more importantly, it kind of synergizes with these supernatural guys to help feed energy and also do some healing. And the other thing that she does that I like is her ability to spread debuffs.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar with this team, it puts a lot of debuffs on the enemy. And what Hela makes sure of is if you get one debuff to land on one enemy, her spread ability, that ultimate, can spread it to all of them. And then if you look here, Mordo, for example, his passive, synergizes. We're going to talk more about it in a minute. In particular, you're gonna see elsewhere as well here in the kits how there's a synergy between Greg's death for example, and the supernatural team. So one thing that people might be wondering though is why not put Loki on this team? He has some text on his team that does synergize with Mystic Controllers. Why not him?
So Loki is the inferior build. People will drop Scarlet Witch to put Loki in there. Um, and the reason you don't want to do that is because you really need Scarlet Witch. Uh, her ultimate ability, where she extends all debuffs, is what really wins the fight. Being able to extend stun for 2 turns, being able to stun, you know, triple stack bleeds for 2 turns. That is key to winning the fight. The other thing that she brings to the table is going to be her special, and we'll talk more about that on the T4s. But being able to give defense up every other turn really helps sustain the team.
Well, let's talk about the essential T4s on this team. What is the first essential T4 you need on your supernatural team if you're going to be running Hella-Naturals?
So the first one that you want to do is going to be Mordo's special. The reason you want to T4 that is because you want to land the blind. But if you do not T4 that, there is a 50% chance you'll blind versus stun. You want to guarantee that stun.
And who are you stunning in the Wave 1 fight? Why is that important?
So the fight is all about control. You want to keep control of the fight, and so at the very beginning, the first thing that you want to do is stun Hulk, so that because he's gonna taunt on his first turn, and what will eventually start the taunt loop between Captain America and Hulk. So you want to stun Hulk with Mordo's first turn.
Great. Now I see here there's a 50% chance to blind up to 3 targets. Just so everyone's clear, those are independent 50% chances that you're going to have. So really, it's only about 12.5% of the time that you're not going to get blind up on one of the targets. That's also an important piece of this, right? Having a blind up on a target that you can spread around.
Exactly. So when you do that special, and you'll be doing this special a lot because of the energy that's being exchanged with Greg deaths and things like that. So you'll be using this special ability a lot. And so whenever you get blind out there on anyone, ideally it's on Thor, but it's not on Thor. That's where Hela's ultimate ability comes in handy because you can spread the blind onto Thor.
Now, is there any other essential T4 on Mordo?
So the only other essential T4 on Mordo is going to be his passive ability. That just helps the team flow a little better. He's granting more energy when Greg dies, and because of the on death of a mystic, and he's also doing some more healing. So that's the only essential T4 other than the special that you want to do on Mordo.
So every time that Hela's summon Greg dies, he gives ability energy to others on the team, and he heals the most injured ally.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, you can see why Hela helps this team. Are there any other essential T4s other than those two on Mordo?
That is just it on Mordo. Those two.
And then what about other characters on this team?
So the other characters, if you want to move next to Doctor Strange, is you want to for sure do his passive.
Okay, and why
His
is that?
passive. Well, the big thing that you get from that passive is you start having the ability to stack the deflects whenever the enemy team gives buffs, and of course, Wave One Avengers are speeding up their defense up. So stacking those deflects helps sustain Doctor Strange through the fight, and you want to make sure he lasts the fight because he is key in having the ability to flip and also to resurrect fallen allies.
Yeah, and so that's actually really important here. That probably eliminates some of the RNG potential loss. If you have Strange around, he can always res somebody if they happen to die.
Exactly.
So, what about Ghost Rider? Does he have any essential T4s?
So Ghost Rider, you're gonna want to do his passive. He gives a lot. He gives a big health boost to Supernatural, and that definitely helps because assuming that the enemy team has done the passive on Captain America, where they've also got a big boosted health, you want that health to be able to sustain through the fight.
One thing to be clear though is when an ally dies, he does get ability energy, but that does not mean that when Greg dies, he gets ability energy. That's an important thing to keep in mind here. What about what about Scarlet Witch? Does she have any essentials?
So Scarlet Witch, the only essential that I feel that needs to be done on her, especially if you plan on doing some big punch ups, is going to be doing her special. Her special, before you do the T4, it's a 50% chance if she'll spread defense up whenever she does her special. Whenever you T4 that, it guarantees the defense up. And that's just an extra kind of insurance policy in making sure you can sustain that fight.
Now, are there any nice to have T4s if you got some extra T4 mats sitting around that you might want to have on this team?
So the first nice to have I would look at would be Doctor Strange's ultimate ability. What that does is it will revive two dead allies, as well as it gives them a little more health, especially the supernatural ally. That's a nice to have. I have not done that T4. I'm doing just fine without it. So I have not done it, but it's definitely a nice to have, and it's a T4 that people have done a long time ago.
And I should mention that we are talking about supernatural T4s. I'm assuming that if you're an endgame person trying to build this, you have Hela already built up and that she has T4s on her. I recommend all but the basic on Hela, but certainly you would need the ultimate at the very least. Do you agree with that, Night King?
I agree, and I did the same build as you. I have done all but the basic.
Okay. So now, one thing that I do want to ask is ISO. I've done my best. You can see what I'm running here. I do have Hela as Raider because you can't see her on this screen. You can see I have Healer on Mordo, Striker on Ghost Rider, Healer on Strange, Skirmisher on Scarlet Witch, and that is essentially what I've gleaned from talking to other top players. What about you, Night King? What are you running on this team?
I think you have probably the best T for the best ISO setup. The only two things I've done is I've done Fortifier on the three on as far as Mordo, Strange, and Scarlet Witch, just to help them sustain a little more.
Yeah, and basically there, your goal is just not to lose because eventually you'll win if you could just keep everyone alive.
Exactly. Between the bleeds that Ghost Rider puts out does a lot of damage, especially when you're extending those triple stack or quad stack bleeds. So I'm just essentially trying to out sustain and control the Wave One team.
Yeah, if you are looking for additional damage in this fight, I do think these are nice to have. I know you've done these two, the special and the alt on Ghost Rider. The special will actually increase the multiplier. When you take a bleed ability from 6 to 7, it actually increases the multiplier, increases the damage on those bleeds. Now, what you could see here, Night King, because I've been following your advice, you told me that Mordo was the most important character to bring to G14 first. Why do you want to make sure you have a big Mordo?
The reason you want a big Mordo is because you want him to hit that stun on Hulk. It's key that you stun Hulk, and that's what sets it in motion. People that do not have a Gear 14 Mordo have a tendency to not land that stun, which can really mess the fight up.
Yeah, and I will just say if you really are short on gear, you could obviously have a level 5 skirmisher on Mordo, which would give him 50% extra focus, but that's a lot of ISO to be putting on Mordo as well. So now, who should I be getting to Gear 14 next year? One thing, by the way, before I ask that question, I just want to note for everyone, Gear 14 gives you a huge focus and resistance buff. That's why we were talking so much about the jump from 13 to 14. Very significant. So who else on this team should I be getting to G14?
So you want to. So as I said, Mordo is the first one. I would say Ghost Rider would be the next one because he does a lot of damage for the team. His bleeds do a lot of damage, and the bigger he is, the harder that his bleeds will do the damage they do.
Yeah, and you're going to spread those around to everyone, so it's not just a single target. It becomes because of Hela. That's another synergy she has with this team. It goes everywhere. Would you bring either Doctor Strange or Scarlet Witch up to G14?
So of those two, and what I've done is I definitely would recommend people to put the Gear 14 on Doctor Strange. He's not that expensive. and that also helps with sustaining him because, as I said earlier, you want to keep him around the whole fight. So putting that Gear 14 on Doctor Strange is a good one to do. Scarlet Witch is the only person on that team that I do not have at Gear 14. I have her at Gear 13, and I think she does just fine.
Yeah, and we're assuming here once again that you have a Hela G14 or above. She's fantastic in Dark Dimension 3 and Dark Dimension 4. That's the sort of person who should be building this. Is a person who's already gone through that or focused on that and is trying to figure out how to make use of their big Hela that they've built up for Dark Dimension. So, all right, let's try this fight out now, Night King. And what I want you to do is, as we are doing this, we're going to do a versus PvP battle. It'll be different in war, but because there's going to be some additional health that you are going to have on the wave one. But what I want Night King to do is, if you could send me a challenge, Night King, I want you to help walk through what, while we're doing the selection of characters, walk through kind of what the key moments are in this fight. What are we trying to accomplish if you are you piloting Helanatural versus the wave one?
So, as I said, the match is really about controlling the fight. You do not want you don't want Hulk and Captain America to be doing their little taunt back and forth that keeps you from controlling the fight. So what you want to do off the bat is you want to stun Hulk. It's key that that stun hits Hulk because he is going to be the first of those two taunters to taunt first. So you're going to want to stun Hulk. And you're going to flip the buffs, and you're going to extend, and then you want to make sure that after you want to make sure that Thor is blinded as soon as possible.
So those are the keys to the fight here. So stunning Hulk, that stun from Hulk will that this is from the Mordo special will put blinds on on characters. By the way, which of the positioning be here, Night King?
So the key is just really making sure that Doctor Strange and Mordo are on the ends. That's really it. The other three spots, it's you can do whatever you want to do.
So what? Let me ask you this: you talked about landing the stun on Hulk. What happens if you don't land the stun on Hulk? Let's say you just get unlucky. What happens at that point?
Well, the first thing you want to do to not for that not to happen is you want to. That's why you want to make sure that your Mordo is built up to Gear 14. The only way that I don't land stunned on Hulk is when Hawkeye specials into Mordo on his first turn, and what that will do is it reduces his turn meter back enough for Hulk to taunt first. And if that happens, you just got to play as fast as you can to start gaining back control of the fight. So it's not like you're automatically going to lose if that doesn't happen, but it definitely takes a little more time to get control back of the fight.
So and then what about if you don't land a blind that 12% chance, the 12.5% chance. So you don't land a blind with Mordo to spread around, and Thor isn't blinded. Isn't he going to kill you with all those thumps that he does with the charges?
That is why you want to blind him first off, is because of the passive kicking in. And so what you want to do is if you can't if blind doesn't land on anyone to spread it to Thor, you essentially want to just play through that next rotation as fast as you can. You want to focus on Thor because you don't want to charge him, and then you just want to play to that next rotation. And there's so much energy being spread around. Typically, you'll be able to do that special again.
Yeah. Now, I'm trying to think here. The other RNG that could potentially happen. What happens if, for example, Doctor Strange dies? Is that going to be a problem for you?
It depends on when he dies. The one of the couple times I've ever failed this fight is when I was playing in defense down, and he they just went after him at the very beginning and they took him down quickly. And I just went ahead and forced close because I knew I had no chance. If he dies later on in the fight, you still can pull out of it.
All right. So here, what I'm doing, just so everyone can see, I'm going to use the special and Ghost Rider here just to bleed some of the characters that I think are Important. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to stun Hulk. That's what you said. This is using the Mordo special. So we did land
Exactly.
the stun, and we now have the blind on Thor. So we will extend with the ult from Scarlet Witch. Is that right?
Exactly, because that's this way you're gonna put Hulk out of commission for 2 turns
Wow.
with that, and of
And
course the
now,
bleeds.
yeah, now Thor's blinded, so he can't do anything. So actually, I'm gonna load up Thor here. You probably don't want to have too many debuffs on Thor because then it might not spread the blind, right? You want to spread all four uh, from that. You want blind to be one of the four that spreads if you're not on Thor, right? Is that the part of the
It,
issue?
exactly. You got lucky on that, and you landed Thor blind on Thor right there. So if you didn't land blind on Thor, and let's say you landed it on Black Widow or Hawkeye, that's when you use Hela's ultimate to spread it to Thor.
Yeah, you really want to make sure that you don't have too many other debuffs so that you're not spreading the blind to Thor. You don't want to miss that. Here, you're going to do the Scarlet Witch special to get the defense up. That really helps you see the defense up and the deflect. And now we're just basically cleaning up here, right? You basically have the fight under control.
Exactly. So what I try to do at kind of the end game of the fight is I try to take down one of the taunters first, like Captain America, because I don't want to go towards the end with Hulk and Captain America up. That's kind of what I've just personally done with my fights. So yeah, I mean every match you'll play is a little different depending on where Hawkeye's special lands, but really it's just a good fight on controlling. You have different ways of maneuvering around the RNG. So it's just a fun fight. And if you're punching up big, you definitely want to play pretty fast because typically this fight will go down to the last 60 seconds in a lot of cases.
Wow, that's really interesting because you timing out can be an issue because in war offense, you're going to have 20% extra health. So now the Hulk is woken up and he's always angry. Is that something you have to watch out for?
You do. Hulk can be pretty bad with his abilities, depending on how much T4s they have in him. But stunning him, keeping him stunned to fight, and he's usually the last one to go down with me. And if you just got Hulk to worry about, you can focus on him and take him out.
And what if I'm caught in a taunt loop? Like, let's say my stun doesn't land. Is that going to be a potential loss there?
It could be only because of timeout. Typically, what I do is if the only time I get caught in that taunt loop is rarely when Hawkeye hits Mordo, and if that happens, that's fine. Just keep playing through the fight, and even one of those punch ups you showed at the very beginning against that full T15 wave one. That was the only time I've ever had Mordo hit with that special, and it took me a couple minutes, but I was able to play through the moves before I gained control back, and I was able to beat them.
Are there any T4s that if Wave 1 has are going to change the fight? Like, let's say they have that passive in Hulk that gives him extra turn meters. Does that change the fight at all?
It could certainly, Wave One does need a lot of T4s to function right, and when people load up the passives on Hawkeye and Black Widow, and they're 100% guaranteed to assist each other, that can be annoying. And then, like you say, that Hulk T4 that makes a little more speed bar for him. So, I've done this fight enough where I've just built my team to always consistently win.
Yeah, I have to say these 800K teams that you're using it against, they always are, I think, pretty tricked out on T4s. These are some of the biggest accounts in the game that you were going up against. One thing that I am curious about, though, is this a one-trick pony that can only beat Wave 1, or can it beat other teams as well?
So first off, I did make these guys specific to target Wave One because of how big of the Wave One that we'll see. I have seen and heard people do this counter against Sinister Six because obviously Doc Ock throws out a lot of buffs, regens and things like that. So being able to flip that right off the bat does a lot of damage. I've only done it a couple times and they're typically punch downs because I couldn't find anything. So that is an option, but they are the best suited for Wave One for sure.
Yeah, I will say in my alliance, people have used this as a counter to Sinister Six, and it works well. Not only because Sinister Six has a lot of buffs, but also they have limited debuff removal. Really, other than Rhino on his special removing one debuff, they can't really
Yeah.
remove debuffs very well. So once they're loaded up with debuffs, they're kind of sitting targets. Well, guys, look, I hope you enjoyed this video. This was a great way, an insight into a team that a lot of people haven't really learned how to master. It can be a tricky fight. If you like this video, press that like button, subscribe to this channel, check out our Discord below if you have questions. Night King's on the Discord. He'll answer your questions there. And, of course, check out our Twitch stream. We stream nightly on Twitch as well.